right, we are now live on Facebook. My name is Tanira. For those who do not know me, I am here to discuss some of our amazing authors that we have featured in the second edition of the Amazing Author Catalog and Mobile Book Fairs. Today, I have the pleasure of having Tiffany Obeng, who is the founder and CEO of Sugar Company Books, where she helps individuals and organizations combat literacy. And she does that through her diverse books. And I just did my research today. I was today years old when I found out that Tiffany is a lawyer by trade. So shout out to Esquire. And I was excited to learn it, of course, because I feel like I always say the amazing author catalogs are just that super amazing. But as I get to interview them, I get the pleasure to learn just how amazing they truly are because I'm getting to know them better and all the different hats that they wear. And you guys are really wearing a lot of hats. So I'm like, there's not a person in this world right now that is not busy. So that is not, wearing a lot of things. Wearing a lot of hats and juggling a lot of things. So I'm excited to bring to you guys Tiffany Obeng. She is one of the featured authors. She has two amazing books in our catalog that are doing well. And like I said, I'm enjoying connecting with the authors so we can learn more about who they are as authors, learn about their author journey, and of course, dive into their books. So, Tiffany, if you want to greet the audience.
Hey y'all, and thank you so much, Tanera, for the invitation to be a part of the catalog, for the invitation to say more about my offerings and just to talk to you today. I'm excited.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So tell me a little bit. This is like an icebreaker question. What inspirational quote inspires you, and what is something that you share with other people to inspire them?
The inspirational quote that inspires me is the Marianne Williamson quote, which is, our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. Of course, there's way more to that. But that one part is just so, it makes so much sense when I embarked on this journey and I really started like having an impact in whatever way you think that is. I was like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, that's what that meant this whole time. It is scary to think about the fact that your little, I don't know, rock that you throw across the ocean can make so many ripples and impact so many people. And the quote that I say to others who is embarking on this journey or thinking about doing it or are in this journey is to do it scared. Like I'm scared every time I do something,
That's
but I
right.
do it anyway. And you never know what's going to come.
I love that. So perfect. And I love how you broke that down. My small rock creates so many ripples and makes such a big impact and be felt for such a broad reach. So that's beautiful. And two, I say that all the time. I tell my son sometimes when he's afraid to speak and other teens when I'm doing my mentoring that I'm afraid to speak every time. And for me, it's a nervous anxiety. It's because I
Yeah.
want to do well. I want to make an impact. I care about the people that I'm talking about. And I know God cares about me
Yes.
representing him. So it's a good nervousness. So just I'm glad that you still continue to do it afraid. So tell me about your journey from lawyer to literature.
I know, right? So I'm still lawyering in some capacity, right? But what I learned on this journey is that the skills actually overlap. So, like when I do career day at my son's school, I talk about being a lawyer and I talk about being an author, and we talk about the overlap of the two. And so, for instance, especially in a lot of the literature that I write, is nonfiction and research based. And that's a lot of what we do as lawyers, especially going through school. You're doing a lot of reading, you're doing a lot of writing, you're doing a lot of learning, you're doing a lot of presenting of information in a way that people can understand. So, advising, you're doing some arguing, but in my books, I'm not really arguing, except for the most recent one. But anywho, so just writing, having those skills as a lawyer actually I think has helped me in the journey of writing at least my Andrew career books that people say, how are you able to take such complicated information and break it down and present it in a way for kids who are 8 and under to understand exactly what you're saying and to engage with the content. So that's my journey from lawyer to literacy, but or how my lawyering impacts the literacy. But I guess I got into literacy writing children's books because a lot of us authors who started in 2020. So the world is changing. There's a lot of unrest going on, but I'm still not really even thinking about that at the time. But now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, I think I started doing this as a form of bibliotherapy. It was like a form of escape. So initially, when I wrote my first book in 2020 or put it out, I was like, okay, this is just something that me and my son can have to share because the book
Mhm.
bears his name, his likeness. We love reading. And the first book was Andrew Learns About Actors, and we both enjoy TV and all those things. So I was like, yes, this is going to be great just to have that bucket item list. And then I put out the next book, still kind of not thinking about it. But, as you get deeper into our community, author community, you start seeing statistics about how there's not a lot of representation in children's books. And so I was like, you know what? I can do something about that. And so that's what I just continued on. And now 4 years later, we have 25 books because I wanted to make an impact in those statistics. I wanted to be able to present literature that kids can relate to, that hopefully they'll want to engage with, especially our Black boys. And that's how, I just got into it and stayed with it.
Oh, so I'm going to say it's your gift because it's just rolling and you're doing so well with it. And we do have something in common. Our first books were inspired by our son and making sure that representation was there. So my son's book, The Amazing Wet Adventure, doesn't have his name on the cover, but he is the main character in the book. So I think that's cool for them to always have that. I'm like, books don't expire. You have a legacy, you have ownership. So kudos to you for doing that as well. Pause break for the clap, and then just providing representation. So I do find, like you said, many of the authors I've connected with too started in 2020. So I'm starting to feel like there's not a lack of books. We're getting buried. Um, we're getting buried in the Amazons. We're getting ignored by the traditional publishing houses. We're not getting the access. And that's kind of one of the foundations behind, the amazing author catalog is we're tired of that. We're kicking in doors. We're no longer waiting to get in scholastics and literally. We're creating our own lane. We're creating our own tables. We're creating our own doors and buildings. And we're doing it together, which makes it so much more exciting. And when I'm doing the book fairs, people are excited. I was in a children's hospital just this week, and the look on people's faces, and the people are like, "What are you doing? And what is this?" And oh my God, so many books with brown and Black faces. So I'm grateful for you for trusting me with your work for one, because they're like our babies, and we don't just put them anywhere. But we're helping each other rise to the top. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your two books that are featured in the catalog, and if you have them with you, feel free to share them.
I'm trying to do like you. Okay, y'all can see it. Okay, here we go. So one of the books that's featured, Tanera was saying like, hey, we need some books that's for younger ages. And I say, oh, I have 10 Toes, which is a bilingual Spanish body parts and senses book, right? So it teaches body parts, senses, and by body parts, I mean like your head, hands, feet, things like that. Because I learned that when I go to places like talk to children and I say, oh, I have this book about body parts, they start snickering. And I'm like, what's so funny? And I'm like, oh, y'all nasty. So it's a basic concept book that introduces children, particularly like from newborn or infancy or toddler to 3 years old, about their body parts, what their body parts do, and number recognition 1, 2, and 10. And so it's bilingual. I do have a English Christian version, but I decided after putting out the English Christian version, like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I added Spanish to it and took away the Christian so it can have like a broader appeal. And it's been doing really well. And yeah, so that's one of the books that's with you guys, and it features Black faces all throughout. But that's the important part. But what I like to say is, in addition to our books featuring Black faces, a lot of my books are not race specific. They have universal concepts. Like everybody has body parts,
That's right.
and so,
And
but
that's
it is,
important to highlight. And sorry to cut you off, Tiffany, but I just want to take a pause and talk about that just a little bit more, because that's something I fight when I'm doing my vendor events, when I'm hosting
mhm,
my book fairs, that people that are not of brown and Black hue, they sometimes just walk on by and don't
yes,
are unable to connect with our books or find interest. And what I find is a little bit of a little butthurt moment. I'm like, we've been buying books with white faces on all our lives. And
yes,
all we wanted to know is it something that we're going to entertain us, provide escape, provide
yes,
education, provide empowerment, provide enlightenment, anything like that, that connected with any type of things that we enjoy. So we want to be able to have those opportunities too, right? So that's a little touch
yes.
point for me. So I'm grateful that you talked about that.
That's exactly right. And we're combating it. We're combating the privilege that exists in readership, which is what I call it, the privilege, because like you just said, if it has a face any face on it, then Black children or children of color are expected to just pick it up and read it and enjoy it. But if you put a Black child face on a cover, then they're like, oh, that's just for Black kids.
Right.
And then if you put a Black boy's face on it, then people are saying, oh, that's just for Black boys. And it's
That's
like, for
true.
Black
And
boys
even
and
Black women to say,
yeah,
it's a girl.
where are your girl books? And I'm like, so yeah, and it's just like one of the pages from the inside. So you see the big language, and then the red language is the Spanish, and then you have the big picture of the kid on the side. So that's one of the books with the catalog. So thank you, Tanera. And then also we have My Summer Skin is Radiant. So this book, it sounds like a seasons book, but it's more than that, right? So this is probably one of the two books out of my 25 that is actually, I don't want to say like skin specific or color specific, but what it is, it has a message. So My Summer Skin is Radiant is supposed to combat the negative thoughts or perceptions that exist within certain communities, such as the Black community, Hispanic community, Indian community, and what have you, whatever community deals with colorism. It's supposed to combat that perception that darker skin is not beautiful, and that perception, like if you are a lighter tone person, just in general, in the summertime, I know I had to deal with it. I was doing it with my son until I realized that was not okay, and that's how this came about. We were like, they were like my parents, I was to my son before this, was like, oh my gosh, you must have been playing outside. Look at your skin. You getting so dark. You getting so dark. And then one day I had a aha or a moment where I'm like, why does it matter? Like, he's a kid. He's going to play outside. And of course, he's going to get darker. And why does that matter so much to me? So it was the message that I wanted to put out there to really adults that are reading this with their kid. Like, it is okay. If your child is having fun this summer, let their skin do what it do.
Continue to glow. Yes.
Yes, proper skin protection. And so my dedication in this book is dedicated to all children. Your skin is beautiful all year long. And then in addition to just showcasing the kids just having fun in the summertime with no regard to their skin getting darker, it has like little affirmations or ditties in it, such as, it's summertime, we play all day, the daylight never ends. The last thing I'm thinking about is my ever darkening skin. So I know,
we're just having fun. We're just being kids.
So that's one of my the other one of my books. So yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. So if you're watching live or you're watching later, please go to amazingcorner.com and check out Tiffany Obeng's books. They're always available online, and we would love to see you at some of our in-person events. You can check the website for what's coming up next. So you mentioned that you have 25 books.
Wow!
I just want to make sure I got that correct. This is all from 2020?
Yes.
So you know my next question. I'm assuming you already know what I'm going to say. How?
I know. That is what always comes next. Like, how did you do that? And what I like to tell people is, again, I think, like, thinking back on it, I think it was an escape for me because there's so much turmoil that was going on during the 2020, 2021, 2022, and being in the legal field, dealing with, because I do employment discrimination. Okay. So like the civil rights, right? So being in that space, and then you see all the social unrest happening. And I think it was really just helpful for me to put out something good in the world where I'm not having to combat anything. Even though at the time I was putting my son on the books. I wasn't thinking like, oh, because I put my son on the book, that means that I'm doing XYZ. Like, that was just my life. That's what I was putting out there until I started getting more into it. And I'm like, no, I am going to put these Black faces on these books because y'all have a problem with it.
It was first out of love, but now it's an intention.
Yeah. Now it's an intention. So how did I do it? I did it because one, that like just escaping. So it was coming to me. My son was being very inspiring at that time. When I started out, he was 4. So, that age, you just have a lot going on.
A lot of fun, a lot of learning.
Yes, I was driven by trying to make an impact with literature. So like the Seasons books or my Honesty book, I was like, okay, we don't really have any Seasons books other than like the Snowy Day that features a Black child character just talking about a season. So that's how the Seasons book came along. So driven by that. And then how I get the time was, I just give myself a lot of grace. I say that all the time. Like, I give myself a lot of grace. It's not like I sat down and said, ooh, I'm going to write 8 books in 10 months, which is what happened. But it wasn't like, that's what I set out to do. Okay. It just was flowing. I have an idea. I put it down in my phone. And then if some more comes, I just keep building on it and building on it as it comes to me. And then at the point where it's seeming like it's shaping a story or a book, then I'm like, okay, well, let me sit down and concentrate. And so having two kids of my own, having a husband, a lot of times I just had to take time like after they go to sleep or if I'm in the car, because remember we're on our phones, if I'm in the car and my husband's driving, then I'm like, oh, like my summer skin is radiant was reading while we was in the car driving around.
So do you have
Whatever.
a dedicated illustrator that you work with for all of your books?
I work with different illustrators. Now, when I have like series such as the Andrew Career Book series or the Seasons book series, then yes, I want those to be the same illustrator.
Okay.
But usually, especially since I was putting out so many books at a time, they call that like rapid publishing. I needed to get different illustrators to be able to quickly continue doing what I was doing and not be held up. So I use different illustrators. I get to try out different styles, which I really love doing. Like, oh, I wonder how watermark, like I wanted watercolor. I mean, watercolor for my summer skin is radiant because I thought that would be really cute with this, summery theme or concept or whatever backdrop. But yeah, so you have to have a team of people too if you want to move quickly or do a lot of books. You have to like get to know different illustrators and editors and all those things so you don't get held up in the process.
All right, perfect. So tell me, what do you feel is your greatest accomplishment since becoming an author?
Oh my goodness. I feel like all of it is such a great accomplishment, but one that's recent that kind of sticks on my mind because I was like, oh my gosh, not me. So the National Society of Black Engineers recognized me in February of 2024 for being a change maker.
Oh,
I know, based on my books, Andrew Learns About Scientists and Andrew Learns About Engineers.
well,
So
that's
that was
perfect.
near and dear to me. Spencer No Spring has been featured this year for Houston Reads Day, which is like, the Dr. Seuss Day, but they call it Houston Reads Day. So it was a featured book. Just anytime people, I don't know, that I don't know,
Right.
purchase or recognize or have good things to say is just, I don't know, it's just beyond my imagination because as a creator, like we're sensitive about it and
Yes.
we hope it will resonate
Yeah.
and so when it does, I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's one of
perfect. Yeah. So share a self-publishing challenge or hurdle that you have had.
my I think doing it all on my own, and I'm still trying to figure out how and where to delegate. Because as a self-publishing individual, we are doing it all.
Mhm.
And so I've been working on the bulk purchase orders. And so finding, like doing that, the research on that, contacting on that, and things like that, that has been, I don't know if that's what you was asking for, but
No,
on
that's
this side
good.
of the street, that has
Yes.
been a hurdle. So that's why when you have your catalog where you're getting us in front of different people and we're all working together for the same goals, I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, thank you. And honestly, that's one of the catalysts behind the book, right? It is very hard once you publish to continue that um marketing and publish and train, right? You take off running, you get a lot of influx of sales and support, and then it's like, what next? How do I grow my niche audience? How do I connect with more readers? How do I get more opportunities? So it's hard to keep that going if you're not creative, if you're not inventive, if you're not networking. So that's good. And bulk orders ultimately is what works really
Yes.
well for self-publishers in the end. So we're all looking for that or more of that. So thanks for sharing, because I feel like there's going to be some people that are watching that want to write
Mhm.
books, want to self-publish or considering just being authors. So I want to share some of the hurdles because then you know some things you want to think of. So what would you say to the person who wants to write a book for the first time, but maybe unsure of how to get started?
So I would say I'm actually teaching a workshop right now for aspiring children book writers. So what I have told them is, well, they're in the workshop. So I'm like, by the end of the workshop, which is 4 weeks, it would be great if you have a manuscript. But if you don't have a manuscript, because again, I'm all about grace. If you don't have a manuscript, don't think that you failed. Don't think your time was not worthy because you learned the basics of how to write a great children's book, a children's book that you will be proud of once you do write it. So for the people who are aspiring to write, like, oh, I want to write a children's book. There are so many resources out there. There's so many coaches out there. I mean, do your research and due diligence on them. But you don't have to do this alone.
Right.
And all you have to do is get the words on paper. you can
Right.
find editors. Like I know some people are like, well, I don't know how to write a children's book, or I'm not sure if my writing is great. We have editors, developmental editors, that actually will take and develop your story. You just have to put the idea down in a way that they can understand where you're going with it, you know? So I'm like, you have so many assistive devices, so much assistance. So if you would just take that one step of getting your words down on paper, then we can go the rest of the way.
That's perfect. That's great advice. And I do tell everybody, start with the manuscript. Don't over edit it. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Just purge that thought and that vision and that idea. So you talked about a little bit about having a workshop. Is this a virtual or in-person workshop?
It is virtual. It's through Midnight and Indigo. And so that is a literary company that offers a number of things, but they also offer workshops, and it's
No.
designed for Black women, right? And so I had put out, I'm an author of 25 books, children's books, and I had put out a journal last year called A Journal for Black Women Who Want to Write a Children's Book. And so I was looking at their offerings and I was like, I don't think they have anything about children's books. And so we connected. And so I'm doing that workshop with
Awesome. So
their
that started already?
yeah, it started September 30th.
Okay. Will you be doing it again?
I hope so. I hope so. But I do have my individual coaching too.
Okay.
So I
So I
would
think
love
that
to
would
do.
be something at the Amazing Corner. I always say I'm no gatekeeper. I'm not afraid of anybody taking my customers, my clients, and my money. So that's something, going forward, if it's a virtual experience, because I am in Delaware, that I'll be willing to share in my newsletter. So just let me know
Oh,
and I will push it out. So that's all I have. Tiffany, was there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure people know about you as an author or any of your books?
I think I would just say, make sure you're supporting the Amazing Author Catalog. She's doing amazing work. And by she, I mean Tanira. She's doing amazing work to like come up with this idea and to have the idea of community, and let's support each other. Like whenever we get her newsletter, she's like, make sure you're supporting each other.
That's right.
And then I know how it is to not network, what is it? Social media, like being on social media, pumping your product. So for you to not only pump your own product, but like make sure you're pumping or supporting or promoting our products. I really appreciate that. And I know this is not in the Amazing Author catalog at the time. Maybe you'll want it
That's
later.
okay.
But this book,
Ta-da!
my first chapter book, it's a
Come a little
transition.
closer with it, Tiff.
Uh, it's
Okay,
hard.
yeah, there we go. Freeze.
Okay. So this is a transitional chapter book. What happens is when I'm at my vending events, people are like, "Oh, I love your books, but my child is reading books with more words. Do you have that?" And at the time, I said, "No, no, 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 no." And so I finally figured out a way to have a chapter book that was unique and kind of like harps on my legal knowledge. So this book is a legal retelling of the Three Pigs. So it's the
That's
Three Pigs versus the Wolf, and it's gotten great advanced reader reviews so far.
awesome.
It's been called brilliant. It's been called suspenseful.
Yeah.
So I mean, girl, if you want that one to be added to the catalog too, that would be great. But it comes out October 22nd.
Perfect, perfect. Follow up with me once it's out. So, guys, this is another edition of Meeting the Author Live. We've got the books here at the Amazing Author Catalog. Please share out this video. Tiffany, what's your social media?
It is everywhere. I'm Sugar Cookie Books. So Instagram at Sugar Cookie Books, Facebook at Sugar Cookie Books, and Pinterest at Sugar Cookie Books. Email Sugar Cookie Books.
Perfect,
Everything is Sugar
perfect.
Cookie.
So follow Tiffany so you can learn more about the amazing things that she offered. She's not just an author, she is also a publisher. She helps people write, and she's also a lawyer. So there's so many things that you don't want to miss about Tiffany Obeng. I appreciate you being here, guys. Guess what? Tomorrow we are flipping the script. And we have Tiffany, who also has experience doing lives and hosting interviews, and she's a lawyer, so I'm a little nervous. She gonna bring the smoke. So join us tomorrow. So Tiffany will be interviewing me because I also
Yeah.
want to share what I have going on and also a little bit more about my why about the catalog. It's a passion project. It's something that I love. I enjoy doing it, and I have no regrets. So I just want to share that it's been a great opportunity. And so Tiffany will get to put me in the hot seat tomorrow.
I'm
So have
excited,
a
girl.
good day, everybody, and thank you for watching.